Okay, true believers, here he is, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Today's episode, Spidey meets the Spoiler. And let's hope our favorite web slinger hasn't also met his match. Ever alert, the legendary wall crawler is looking for something. And he's found it. A rubber glove sandwich.
Oh boy. This, dear viewer, was Spider-Man's first live-action depiction on either the big or small screen. These brief skits were part of The Electric Company, an educational children's series that aired on PBS in the 70s. The Spider-Man sketches started in 1974 and were accompanied by a comic book series called Spidey Super Stories. These were not your usual Marvel comic books. They were produced in partnership with the Electric Company and as such were aimed at a younger readership than usual. Throughout the series run, it featured a raft of guest stars consisting of a variety of other Marvel heroes and villains. Your favourite superhero, assuming they existed between 1974 and 1982, probably appeared in this series. That fact alone may tempt you, as it did me, to buy a copy. This one features Captain Britain, along with Iron Man in a backup story. You can find a full History of Captain Britain playlist right here on this channel, link on the screen. But it just didn't feel complete without me looking at this last appearance of the Lion of London in his red suit. Not his actual last chronologically, just the last one that I got my hands on. As a completist, I just couldn't resist. The question is, should I have? To begin with, we get a kind of origin for Cap. He is bestowed his amulet, or locket as they call it here, and I assume that is Merlin giving it to him, but he doesn't look like he did in Cap's debut issue. They've also cut out his motorcycle crash, a bit too perilous for the little ones I suppose. And there he is, directing traffic or something. On with the story now, as you can see how fewer words there are on the page compared to your usual Bronze Age book. No speculation running through Peter's head as to why he has been called to the principal's office. No internal wrangling over his latest personal quandary, or the fact that he is running late due to some unfortunate twist of fate. Just, the principal wants to see me. And here's the reason. Peter's old friend, Brian Braddock, is back in America for... It seems they don't remember Brian's previous visit when they ended up battling Arcade. That is because this isn't mainstream Marvel continuity. Instead of Earth 616, we are on Earth 57780, the continuity dedicated to the Electric Company version of these characters. Brian is here to see how schools work in America. Oh, I wonder what... Oh, okay, don't worry. It seems that's enough of an explanation for the principal and Peter, and it is agreed Brian can stay in his Aunt May's house. This page may look more like what we are used to, with plenty of word balloons, but actually, when you look at them, you will see that everyone speaks in short, simple sentences. This entire page features just one comma. After Peter goes to bed, we see that Brian isn't there to see how schools work after all. Instead, he has some kind of secret mission. But, as he flies off, we see that maybe he should have given Peter at least enough time to change into his gym jams before flying out the window. Now it's Peter's turn to change and jump out the window, before our heroes meet in costume for the very first time. Again. Only an Englishman would say by Jove. Captain Britain explains that he is there to look for a thief who has stolen the Queen's diamonds. He has a picture of the rascal, although in this instance a description would probably have done the trick. Yes, it's Jack-o'-lantern, and Cap is in too much of a rush to wait for Spidey. In fact, he must catch Jack alone, for some reason. Cap goes to an address that Jack is known to operate out of, but the pumpkin-headed one is waiting for him, and he gloats over the fact that CB has fallen into his trap. Not really sure what the purpose of the trap was. Jack now has Cap's staff, leaving the hero helpless. This came out in 1982, so he really should have the Star Scepter, but everyone seems to forget about the Star Scepter. What am I saying? This is 1982. Cap should be in his blue outfit. Maybe in this continuity he didn't get a makeover. Or a Star Scepter. Spidey just appears in the next panel. I get that he used his spider tracer to track Cap, but we could have at least seen him enter Jack's hideout. The good news is we still get fights. Well, action. No one actually gets punched. But we also get puns. Lots and lots of puns. Even as Jack seems to be escaping, Spidey is still practicing his comedy routine. Now is not the time, Spidey. Our heroes combine their abilities to stop Jack-o'-lantern from escaping before we get the main clash between our three leads. There are 3 stories in this issue, by the way, and all 3 were written by Stephen Grant, a man who worked on a few Marvel team-ups, more Avengers and various other titles. Not with quite so many puns though. Winslow Mortimer is our artist. He was a very old school artist working on a stack of Superman and Batman comics for DC from the 40s until the 70s, when he jumped ship to Marvel and was given such heavy-hitting titles as Night Nurse. He also did a few of Marvel's horror-themed titles and every single issue of Spidey Super Stories. The rate of puns is getting ridiculous. I actually counted 7 panels in a row that contained puns, and each of the 3 characters gets in on it. The thing is, they aren't even funny. They might amuse little kids, I suppose, rather than a grumpy middle-aged man like me. As you can see, they've got the better of Jack, but then he says they have to choose, catch him or the missing jewels. Of course that doesn't work because there are 2 of them, so, as you would expect, one grabs the jewels whilst the other grabs Jack. It's hardly a catch-22 situation. And I have no idea how Cap managed to do that with his staff. I know it can project a force field, and after his redesign, he was even able to manipulate it to use as force beams, but I've never seen him use it to contain someone else before. Spidey takes Jack to the clink, and Cap flies off with Her Majesty's jewels. Although, of course, this isn't farewell just yet. That happens the next day at the airport, as Brian says he'll be back soon, and depending on which continuity you want to follow, he either did more than once, or on Earth 57780, who knows? Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. This series only lasted 1 more issue, so there was no opportunity to show a reunion within its pages. There are 2 more stories in this issue. One sees the Green Goblin trying to steal candy from a Halloween party. Seriously. It isn't a distraction from another bigger job. There's no ulterior motive. He just wants to steal sweets. Of course, Spidey foils him, for this year at least, because he will be back. Then the last tale features a team-up between Spider-Man and Iron Man as they take on Blizzard. The strangest part of it is Spidey claiming that Blizzard is one of his enemies, when Blizzard not only made his debut in an Iron Man comic, but it wasn't until the 90s that he appeared in anything but an Iron Man comic. All they needed to do was swap those 2 word balloons around, and it would have made perfect sense. I guess they just have to make everything in this comic about the web swinger. Other than catching a falling plane, the story is really just a drawn-out battle, which is pretty impressive in a title where no one ever throws a punch. There is still 1 more chance to see Captain Britain in his red suit, albeit in black and white. The inside back cover features Spidey and Cap playing out a little comedy sketch. This was a regular feature where readers would send their jokes in and have Spider-Man telling them to the whole readership. This joke was sent in by Robert White of Birmingham, Alabama. Well done, Robert. What I want to know is, does Mr. Bigger's baby buggy have rubber bumpers? If you've been following my History of Captain Britain series, then that is it. You and I have now seen every single appearance of Cap in his original costume, ignoring any flashbacks or such like. If you haven't been watching that series, I've got good news for you. You've got about 5.5 hours of videos to catch up on, and they still won't contain as many puns as this comic has. What I want to know is, does Mr. Bigger's baby... What I want to know is, does Mr. Bigger's baby buggy have rubber bumpers?